Hold on.
Come on down, gather around.
Okay. Live now.
Hey.
Okay.
Should I introduce myself?
Yeah,
What should I do?
please.
Hi, Joseph Gallo, Theater Arts Coordinator, Hudson County Community College. Hey. All right. So, first question. Now, I know that these students could probably ask you all day to riff on the Goonies.
The Goonies.
But before it's lost, I want to open with this. And I heard you mention at the tail end of your other interview.
Yeah.
I'm going to float some names out to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
MVP of the NFL.
Okay.
Bruce Springsteen. Ever hear?
Who?
Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, the boss.
He's a musician.
Yeah. He's gonna do all right. I have a name like that. He's gonna...
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
All community college graduates. All of them.
I'm in good company.
Right? And you started at Los Angeles Valley College.
It's true.
And I think it's an appropriate place to start because that's where these guys are.
You wanna do this? Yeah. Go ahead and stand up if you don't mind. What's your name?
James.
James, stand up over there and just pan back and forth between the group and me and then the Periscope people. How many are watching?
74.
74?
Yeah. 75. 76.
Actually, you know what you should do? Go in the back of the room, see if you can get a view, or everybody included. Okay, I am a proud graduate of Los Angeles Valley College, a community college in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. It is the only college I applied to out of high school was Cal State Northridge. California's got an amazing state system. The community colleges are meant to feed into the state schools. You've got the California state schools and then the UC system. I had a 3.14 GPA coming out of high school. I'd already starred in a bunch of movies, but I was not quite, I don't think I had ADD, and I don't think I was dyslexic. But close. So anyhow, academics were really important to my father. He really wanted me to get a formal education, so even though I was cranking away making movies, I was determined to go to college. And the only school I applied to was Cal State Northridge. I got in. They didn't require an SAT, which I never took, because I didn't want there to be a number that was going to equate, my intelligence and my identity, because I knew it would have been a very low number. It does skip a generation though, because my daughter Allie is actually at Harvard right now. So yeah, so she figured out how to get smarty pants. And gosh, I mean, I'd never seen anything like this with her admissions process. They were hunting her. They were coming after the volumes of actual mail. You know what mail is? Letters. It's actually a physical. So and and I just thought, man, the world opens itself up to people in that position. And she's a very, very, very bright girl, very talented girl, sophisticated, smart. But the reason she was able to get into a school like that, the reason she had a competitive application, was because she worked for it. She worked for it every single day. She worked for it instead of her boyfriends. She worked for it instead of hanging out at her friend's house and partying. She was a geeky homebody most of the time. She's a gorgeous girl, and you'd sort of think, like, I don't even know if she got invited to the prom. She must have got invited to the prom, but my point is just that she was, for some reason, she had, and this is going to be the theme of my bigger talk, so if you're going to stay, you'll hear a little bit of repetition, but my theme for every community college group, actually everyone in life, but really specifically with community college folks, is living your life with a sense of mission is the key to success. And for some reason, I'm sure it was my fault when she was young, Allie had this sense of mission burning in her belly until she got into stupid, incredible college. So my time, I loved it because when I got to community college, I learned how to do a couple things that were really important. I learned how to listen. I learned how to think critically. The most important class I ever took in all of my years of school at any level was Critical Thinking 101. And my wife occasionally wants to tattoo it on my forehead, but just the name of the course was enough to set me on a great track, because the idea that, like, oh, actually, you are empowered to approach any situation with the understanding that you have the ability to figure it out. So you can no longer claim ignorance. You can no longer, you might not have knowledge, you know, you might not be as well versed in something as somebody else, but whatever situation you encounter, you have the capacity to exercise critical thinking skills. This was a watershed moment for me. I also, actually I didn't do well in speech 101. She said that I did the windshield wiper.
Okay.
You know? My wife, who is mortified, petrified to speak in public. It was hilarious watching her give a talk to her high school class one year, because she just like sweating palms and everything else, and I'm the talker in the family, but she got an A. So like, she stood still, delivered the stuff, spoke clearly. What else did I do at community college? All right, so I was at community college when Rudy premiered. I was starring, title character of a tri-star film, and in the period of time after shooting it, I went to community college. I had done a short film. It was nominated for an Academy Award in the live action short subject category. We got the announcement, they made the announcements right before I had to go to Mr. Rodriguez's Spanish 101 class at 7:30. So I was sitting in the class like, I don't need to be here. I'm an Academy Award nominee. I might have even ditched the rest of the book. I don't know. But my point is just that you can get knowledge from anywhere. You can build friendships anywhere. Community college is, to me, this incredibly disarming, powerful instrument of learning. It's disarming because when you say community college, somehow the word community's got a little dirt on it. It's got a little hue of less than on it when you're in the world. You know, oh, I went to community college. How about I went to like the most badass group, place with this group of students. We were all fired up. We came from different backgrounds. We had different levels of education going in. But I remember in my community college, one of the coolest guys we had in the period of time when I was there was this like 85-year-old guy. And the first thought you have when you walked in, you're looking and you're like, why is he here? He didn't look, maybe he wasn't that old. He was definitely over 70. He was 70s or 80s, but he was. It's like, was it career advancement? Why is this guy here? Is it just that he didn't look like somebody for whom being in the community college setting was just a nice social experience. He was there to learn. And I just thought that was so interesting because, like, at what point in your life does having new knowledge become meaningless? At what point do you sort of go like, I've done it, the odds are I'm gonna, if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, would you want to get more knowledge today? Why? Because you don't know who you're going to see right before you die. You might be able to drop some piece of data or information or offer a thought or a look to somebody. Even just the knowledge that you went and did that all of a sudden is filled with meaning. So community colleges are awesome. And this theater department, yeah, what are we doing? What kind of...
Well, we have acting, contemporary drama, intro to theater, playwriting.
So, all right, so my father, so my father is John Astin. He was Gomez in the original Addams Family television show in the 60s. His work is just so great. He is at Johns Hopkins. He is moments away from reestablishing a drama major at the university. He's been there for 14 years trying to get that done. And it looks like it's now about to happen. So from the
6 years.
6 years from the great University of Johns Hopkins, he waves his wand over the nobility of your experience here at Hudson. So congratulations on accomplishing what it's been taking a long time to do. But anyhow, where was I starting with my dad? Why did I invoke my dad? Knowledge, learning.
Well, let me ask you this: your parents were both in show business. Were you pressured to, or did you feel? Were you pushed to go into show business, or how did that path happen? And you did a lot of movies before you did Goonies. I mean, you were already working.
I did two things before Goonies. One when I was 8, it was an after-school special called "Please Don't Hit Me, Mom." It's like, you just couldn't hide that joy. That joy was just surrounding you in that moment. "Please Don't Hit Me, Mom" was one of those ABC after-school movies where they had drugs one day and teen pregnancy one day and child abuse one day. So, and my mom is Patty Duke, who played Helen Keller in the original Miracle Worker, right after she starred on Broadway in Miracle Worker. She won an Oscar for that. She then went on in the 60s to star in a TV show called The Patty Duke Show. It was kind of a groundbreaking show in that she played identical cousins. So it kind of took the technology of, you know, mirroring yourself on screen and acting opposite yourself to a new level. It was very popular. Lots of guys in their 60s and 70s told me what a crush they had on my mom. Awesome, dude. Thank you. Thank you. She feels the same? I don't know. So my mom had a hit show in the 60s. My dad was on a groundbreaking hit show in the 60s. So by the time I came along in the 70s, they didn't have anything to, that's not the right way to say it. They were fully established celebrities and fully established, you know, renowned performers. So the vibe we had around our house was almost like, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. You know, a lot of times when you're ambitious and you're struggling, you're fighting to make a career for yourself, you know, your image, your career choices, everything is pushing in one direction. The vibe I grew up with was like, that's understood that that's a reality, so we don't need to focus on it, and let's just, you know, be ourselves. You know, I played Little League, I did, you know, we just had all kinds of normal fun activities.
You also went on to study at Stella Adler.
I did. So I think one of the things that made me appealing to certain people when I was hired as a young performer was that I didn't have any affectation, or if I did, it was mitigated by my exuberance. But my point is just that I was just kind of a natural kid, and that was appealing to people. Because a lot of kids who come in an audition, they're very, they've been trained to behave in a certain way, and you can see it. You know, it interrupts the process that they've gone through with their parents, kind of interrupts it. The greatest performances, and you see them, whether it's Henry Thomas or Jodie Foster or any of the great child performances through the ages, that just doesn't exist.
Right.
And for some reason, you know, whether it's taught or learned or both, it's there. So I had this career going that I was very grateful for. Always very grateful. I knew that, you know, not everybody gets to be in a Steven Spielberg movie when they're 12. So even though I got back from doing that and I lost the 8th grade student council election, I didn't make the runoff. I was like, but I'm in a big Steven Spielberg movie. How many people you got on there right now?
58.
58. Oh, thanks, Periscope people.
Woo!
Everybody say hi to the Periscope people.
Hey!
Yeah, just want them not to think they're. So I was always respectful of that, but it also wasn't the most important thing to me. I was, you know, being in the JV baseball team was really as important to me. Girls, as important to me. Until I turned 18 and I was fortunate enough to land a part. My natural way got me parts when I would go in for casting directors. I just came in with such enthusiasm and excitement and just genuine, and that really won a lot of casting directors and directors over. But when I got back from having filmed Memphis Belle, a World War II movie about a B-17 bomber, great cast: Harry Connick Jr., D.B. Sweeney, Billy Zane, Matthew Modine, Tate Donovan. It was a great. There were 10 of us, 10 American actors on the crew. And John Lithgow was on the ground as the Life magazine guy, and David Strathairn, a brilliant actor, was one of the commanders on the post. Anyhow, it was very clear to me that being naturalistic, or comfortable on camera was not going to be enough to allow me to build a career. That ultimately, you know, the level of competition, and I sort of hesitate to call it competition, but the number of other people who were coming into the system of being able to audition for casting directors and so forth, it was growing. The business was growing, the industry was growing, and these people coming from all over the place wanted it bad. They wanted their careers. They wanted the opportunity to perform. They wanted to be, you know, they wanted to have good careers. So when they showed up, many were trained. many, that was the sole focus on everything they did. And I realized that I had enjoyed the ability not to have to focus on it too much so that I could allow for other things I wanted to do. But it was very clear to me at 18 years old that that would not, something was going to change. Either I would likely not have that opportunity to act in as many movies or have the same kinds of opportunities, or I was going to have to study. That I was going to have to actually develop some kind of a craft, some sort of a technique, a skill set that would empower me beyond what I had been doing. So I did have the incredible good fortune to have a friend and producer, a guy who produced the movie that I was in called Milton Justice. I think he's on the other side. I think he's in Long Island now. No, maybe he's back in LA teaching again at Stella Adler. But anyhow, Milton he was Stella's. He was very, very important in the organization at the end of Stella's, in the school, at the end of Stella's life. So she was 91 or something when I took her master class, and it was, it was really a privilege, really, really a privilege. She would come in and barely able to, operate on her own power and strength. Very graceful. There was a majesty about the entrance she would make into the theater, and there was a little table set just on stage right, and with a light, a little key light that wouldn't go on her. She was an actress, of course. So so she would sit, and then there was probably 100 people in the class, and you were lucky if you got up in front of her once, and a couple of people twice, and maybe by hugely popular demand, or she had a crush on somebody, they get to go 3 times. But basically, very sensual woman in her 90s, I'll say, but not an unhelpful quality for an actor. Anyhow, so she would sit there and she would kind of look a little feeble, and then the actors would come on stage and you'd see almost some otherworldly animation kind of wake her up, and then very, very often people would not get very far in their scenes, and she would just brutalize them. I tried to think, was her intensity and anger a benevolent anger, or did she think that there was some value to being exceedingly hard on people? And I actually think it's mostly it was coming from a place of mission, that she felt like whoever she had in front of her, who she could touch in her lifetime, she wanted them to be as honest, as capable, and and I think that comes, I could be wrong about Stella in particular, but there's a thing that I've noticed where, that the community college thing, that somewhat condescending feeling that people have about people in community college, it gets even worse for actors. Actors are, it's very, very easy to ridicule actors because we're self-involved a lot. Our appearance is important to us, which reads as superficial to a lot of people. We like the limelight, which can feel a little disrespectful to others at times. There's a whole host of reasons. In fact, I could probably write a book on all the reasons why actors are not respected by other people in society. But for Stella Adler, she believed, and something I know to be true as a second-generation actor, is that it is a vital piece of the social puzzle. That since human beings sat around a fire after they figured out how to hunt or farm, this idea of reinterpreting our experiences in an emotional way in front of others so that it would affect their lives and affect their emotions and create, with the Greeks who would create these emotional journeys for people. They really identified that, a catharsis. This isn't just an entertainment. This is something that's going to have you on the other end of your experience be a different human being. We're going to do a dramatic performance, and you're going to be a better person. Your decision-making skills, your sense of right and wrong, your capacity for courage can be affected by how those ideas are animated in you through the work of performers. So Stella wanted actors to know that it's important. I watched this one African-American actor come out to do something from Othello. He did one of Othello's speeches. And he sort of had a Sidney Poitier quality of how he stood. His back was sort of almost too firm, too erect. He had an affectation. And he came out and he gave this speech, and it wasn't very good. He was very self-conscious, actually. And she just destroyed him. I mean, it was painful to watch, because this man, he was probably in his late 30s, early 40s, and you just, he had this moment to be in front of one of the greats, and now here she was just castigating him. And she said, something like, I may not be exactly right, but something like, "How dare you? How dare you? She said something to the effect of, it was very hyperbolic, but something like, the American theater, that all that's left for the American theater is the black experience, and it is your job to stand there and tell the truth on stage." So, and this little white woman telling this old black guy, this middle-aged black guy, that slavery, the original sin of slavery in our country isn't settled yet, and it's up to him to fix it, and he's not doing a very good job. Like, whoa.
So talk to us a little bit about how you approach what you may have learned from Stella or from some other acting teachers or influences on how you approach a role. Pick one and jump in on the process.
Pick a role?
Yeah.
Oy.
I have a question I can frame for you. This will help. Okay, you're talking about the sense of mission, find your mission, and actually do that. And everything you've been saying right now, because I told you that as a Tolkien scholar, I was thinking about how you portrayed Sam Gamgee, okay, and that most of the roles that are definitive in people's minds are very inspirational. And I wondered, what informed your portrayal of Sam Gamgee?
Is that a good one?
And then how
Should we start with Sam?
Okay.
All right. Samwise Gamgee is one of the greatest literary characters ever rendered. He is. The people always come up to me and say, Sam is the real hero. I know. Sam wouldn't say that.
How dare you?
I can't care for him. I can't agree. So, Rudy and Sam are very similar. They both are characterized by their courage and their determination. And I honestly think that quality exists in me in large measure. I'm a person who, and I don't know why, I think maybe I sensed from my mother when I was a little kid that, she had bipolar woman, she had done some terrible things, she behaved badly, and her reputation was scarred. And I think on some level she wanted me to fix it. If she could be a strong enough mother, if she could raise a son who did well enough, then somehow that would be the answer to other people's judgments. That's the best psychoanalysis I can do on myself in short order. But whatever it was, I live my life like that. I live my life with wanting more, wanting to do better, wanting to have a big life, big experiences. I want to fix the world. I want to change the world. It's not an idle thing. Like I really want that. I really wanted that since I was old enough to remember. And so I think just me being me is the most important, foundation for both the characters of Rudy and Samwise Gamgee. Having said that, I'm glad I hadn't read Lord of the Rings before the movies, because I wouldn't have been able to do that, knowing how beloved the character is. So it was really, I just graduated from UCLA with a double degree in history and American literature and culture with honors. 3.1 high school guy with honors at UCLA and 2 double majors. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. I got married and we went to college together, so I had a little bit of an advantage because she helped me all along the way. So I think that having that new training, the new academic training, was really, really, really vital for my ability to get my head around what was happening with Lord of the Rings. I picked up a book, the big tome, the 3 books in one, the Bible of Lord of the Rings, and I started going through it, and I just know that it would have been a totally different experience. It actually wasn't a fun read for me. I did not do what millions of other people have done and thousands have fed back to me, which was get lost in the world. I didn't get lost in the world, at first at least. I was parsing it. I was going through and I was studying it, I was learning it, I was trying to figure out, what I was supposed to do. I had a deep affinity for the idea of the gardener as, if the actor is important in civilization, certainly the gardener is. And so that idea that the sanctity of the gardener, the nature of the gardener, I really, really, really liked that. And then this idea of servitude, he calls him Master Frodo all the time. That idea of living your life for someone else felt imminently playable to me. And I almost tried to exist like that, the whole time we were in New Zealand, shooting Lord of the Rings. I just, Frodo. If Elijah Wood, lost his car keys, I'm like, I'll take care of it. So, we had some pretty great, some transcendent support. I don't know, that's not the word I'm looking for. We had some transcendent experiences. I got to do 6 weeks of prep. You never get 6 weeks of prep. Most times you don't get 6 weeks to shoot a movie. You get 3 weeks now. 6 weeks of sword training, 6 weeks of dialect coaching, 6 weeks of wardrobe fittings and camera test, just 6 weeks of script meetings. Can you imagine? And you know what you're doing, $300 million movie. And every time you go to the special effects shop, you see, dozens of swords being forged and, hundreds of orc costumes being made and thousands of extras trying on uniforms. And, you knew when you were sitting talking to the director that just outside there was a massive army of cool shit happening. and your job was to just try and do the absolute best you can with what you're given at that moment. So I could go on for a long time, but that's basically how I approach that character. And sometimes it's really important to listen for the music in the character. I think that's probably a useful note for community college students, theater drama students at any age level. That sometimes we want so hard to get a part right, and you learn it and you're fighting for it, but you're too your own intention. There's a difference between living with a sense of mission and being too determined to function properly. So there's every story, every movie, every TV show has its own lyrical quality, its own music quality. You just have to learn what that means in your own way for different shows. But if you watch particularly sitcoms, it's very clear what the music of a sitcom is. So you want to find out what the music of it is, and you want to make sure that you're singing in concert with the piece.
So let me